Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
In just a couple of weeks, the teams and the drivers of Kellymoss will be attacking this famous racetrack as part of the 12 Hours of Sebring, whether they're running in Porsche Carrera Cup North America Opener or the WeatherTech Sports Car Series 12 Hours of Sebring. It's going to be a challenge for them, and it'll be a nice little preview of what we'll see. But with some drivers, you already know what we're going to see tonight. However, it's going to be a lot of fun calling the next round of the Kellymoss Club iRacing Championship. Hi, everybody. It's great to be back. Jeremy Scott with you alongside Tristan Herbst. Jim Cunningham is back in the production booth giving us the sights and sounds of this historic Central Florida racetrack. Well, Tristan, first of all, this is an absolutely fantastic site for endurance fans everywhere because we're racing at night.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the best tracks, I'd say, for endurance racing, and it's got one of those really interesting layouts as well as the like where the track limits are actually allowed, especially with it being a concrete-based track at certain parts of the certain corners and stuff. So it really does play into quite an interesting one, especially in the GT cars, like you mentioned, the endurance racing, and at nighttime, which is what the drivers have been thrown into here at the Kellymoss Club iRacing Championship here for round number 6. So it's going to be quite interesting here tonight, but what the guys can do. We're only at a 10-car grid here for tonight, but like we've already seen, Jeremy, I think the guys are going to be able to show us some magic with just being 10 cars on the grid.
And of course, some point standings are really, really tight in spite of not having any drop rounds or drivers not taking drops yet. We'll go through that all throughout this broadcast. And there we go right there. You see Aaron Johnson, your points leader, 4 wins on the season. Anytime he shows up, he's been at the pointy end of the grid, especially in the Pro Championship. Alongside Blake McGovern, Lonnie Unser, who is out this week. She's done at the Chicago Auto Show. Got a chance to talk to her a little bit. Hopefully you get a chance to see her as well. Caden Kelly and Griff Asplunth rounds out your 5 cars who have run in the championship. Now, Erica Hoffman has 0 points so far, but she does have at least 1 start in the series. So Michael Clark, Ashley Freiberg, Riley Dickinson have yet to log a lap here in the Club iRacing Championship. As we take a look at the next class, Tristan, it's a little bit tighter than we have in the Pro Championship.
Yeah, slightly tighter, like you're mentioning. Ted Burns still leading that with a 3-point gap, but he's again missing from today's action. So I think it might change up today. Lemcol is here today, and he sits in second with 3 points behind Burns. So that might change up after today's racing. Jacob Harder currently sits in third with 68 points. Nathan Water a little bit further down. He was your winner last week at Virginia International Raceway for the team championship, followed by Chris Bowman, Cameron Cooldown in 6th, and Donnie Leonard in 7th. And unfortunately, Luigi Piglis, Tom Dyer, and Mark Miller are not able to get any points up on the board. And I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't seen them yet out on track. So it might still be a while before we see them.
I need to poke Mark Miller and get him out there, and I might have connections to Tom Dyer as well. Joseph Holman is taking the Aaron John Song approach of the club member championship. He's got a pretty healthy lead, and that's on top of 4 wins from 5 races. He's actually got 5 poles as well. Max Lehrman and Anthony Castillo round out your drivers who have raced so far, and they're tied for second place at 80 points. Both of those drivers are in the field, with Fleerman running a little bit slower than Castillo, but Castillo right now so far at the top of the charts to try and topple Joseph Holman's stranglehold on the poles. Also entered in this championship, we haven't seen them yet, Karim Odom, Jensen Hansen, Scott Stawas, Chris Matt Miller, and Alex Vasquez III.
Yeah, Kamari Odom, a new entry from last week's racing. He's from a couple of the other series here at Apex Racing TV, but he's joined in a slightly later for Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship. Let's hope to see what he can do in today's racing, although I don't see his name. Then we've got our final one, which is the VIP standings, currently led by Peter McKay, but he's under a lot of pressure from Speedy Dan Clark in second position, and we've seen what he's been able to do in the past couple of rounds that he's actually been racing with us here. So Dan Clark already up into second, and that's a 2 points difference between the top 2 drivers. Ryan Marine's been booted down to third. Then, unfortunately, the rest of our drivers now VOP class. Andy Lee, Luke Hortog, and Sheena Monk. Unfortunately, not able to join us as of yet for the first 6 rounds. So maybe we'll get to see them before the end of the season, but here's to hoping. But otherwise, we've got the top 3, which will be battling on strong.
I think Luke is over in Bathurst running the big race this weekend, the 12 hours of Bathurst. So got that going for him, which is nice. And Aaron Johnsong to the point. First driver under the 2-minute mark, 59.224. Fastest overall and in the Pro Championship. No surprise here. I did get a chance to watch last week's race at VIR, and shocker, Johnsong gets out front and just flat out dominates. But once again, there were some great battles all throughout the field that this series has been known for, which is absolutely fantastic. Before we get going, Tristan, thanks for taking the lead last week. Charles, my partner over there tomorrow night for Super Lap. Great to see you two work together. And it was also nice to hear Charles bring in some insight from an outsider to the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a great little event in running there at VIR South and VIR Full. And as you mentioned, when Johnson's out on the track, he will yet again deliver and put himself up in pole. And that's exactly what happened. Like you mentioned, you went and watched the replay. It was a bit of a Verstappen dominance yet again from Johnson. And as it stands currently tonight for Sebring, it might be the same kind of moves. But yes, mid-pack battles indeed. We had loads going between Peter McKay, Maxwell Fleerman was there, Lonnie Unser, Blake McGovern, Dan Clark. They were all fighting within that mid-pack, trying to score a couple of points. But, the main battle that we had last week of interest was the coach versus student fight. And that was with Blake McGovern and the likes of Speedy Dan Clark. And the two of them, I'm not going to lie to you, McGovern was giving his coach a little bit of a run for his money. And coming down towards the end of the line, it was pretty close between the two of them. But Dan Clark still able to snatch one position ahead of his student and moving higher up on that VIP tower.
Clark is yet to log a time. He's logged about 4 laps. That tells me that he's been touching grass everywhere around here. And that's so simple to do, especially at night, because unlike most North American road courses, when you run at the nighttime here at Sebring, it is dark, and it is absolutely fantastic to see. We went to our first 12-hour last year, my wife and I, and we stood actually at the hairpin, and it's amazing how dark it gets, especially with all the lights, either outside or inside the track. That track, it's absolutely fantastic because you can see the lights of the GT cars, you can see the lights of the prototypes, you can hear them, but that's all you can see until they come up on the corner.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. It is quite a passion project. I've done it as well before at Kalami with the 9 hour where it runs into the nighttime and all you can see is headlights and you know hearing the beautiful noises of all the different engine displacements coming out of the GT3s and it really isn't one thing, but it's another thing for the drivers. If you ever watched the bigger form factors of racing like Formula One, you'll know that all the circuits have got nice hefty street lights all over them to allow the drivers to race. Obviously, Formula One cars don't have any self-aid in terms of lighting, but here in GT racing, and like you mentioned on the North American circuit, it is pitch black dark around the track, and all that the drivers have got are their headlights in front. And I believe Sam was telling us that Sebring has got a reasonable amount of light around the circuit compared to others. So if this is what Sebring looks like, imagine a couple of the other tracks where it's practically just a pitch black open abyss outside of the track and the car's lights.
Oh, could you imagine Coda at night? Oh, that would be absolutely awesome to see. Because all you're doing, you'll just come down that pit straight, you'll have all those lights, and then, well, guess what? Good luck. You're on your own. Speaking on his own. Dan, come on. Keep it clean for a lap. Because Tristan, you know as well as I do, even at 0x, you cop one of those and your lap's invalidated.
Yeah, absolutely. And invalid lap, obviously no lap time generated. And it's happened before with Dan Clark where we see him miss his qualifying posting. And then I don't know if he's challenging himself. It's a bit of a weird one because I feel like he's kind of doing a bit of a challenge with himself, you know, like a last to first kind of situation. I feel like he does know his pace and his, his scenarios. And he's more just doing the qualifying to, stretch out the wheels. I'm telling you now, Dan Clark probably hopped on the rig probably about 20 minutes ago to get the warm-up and stuff, and it's the exact same as what happened at VIR last week. He told us in the interview booth that he literally jumped on like 20 minutes before the race, did a couple of practice laps, and as long as he could meet the braking points for all the corners, he was happy, and he still ended up finishing, first in the VIP class and fourth overall. So let's see what he can do here tonight, but I have a feeling he's not going to set a qualifying lap and, try and have some fun towards the backside of the grid.
And that's Dan, loves to have fun no matter where he's at around the grid. And he's one of the drivers who doesn't take this too seriously. There's a couple up here who do, but either way, Clark down the Almond Straight, and it's gonna be a little difficult to see who's where. So we're might be a little delayed on saying who's at what position, but we're gonna try our best. You see, everybody's out there on the circuit right now as Clark goes around Sunset Bend. There's your sector times there at the bottom. Most of them in the green across the line. He'll come. I'll see if he sets the time this time by. No time. So yeah, I think he's just taking this, go out there, set some, laps and get ready for the race.
Yeah, he's purely wanting this as just a bit of a way to stretch his, can you say wings? I don't think the wings is the correct term. Stretch his door panels out. Maybe that's what it would be in GT3 racing. Get the rubber nice and toned in around Sebring here, and he's done it before, like we've said, and I'm pretty sure he's doing it again here. We've only got about 4 minutes left of qualifying, and he's done 6 laps so far. For a driver of his magnitude, I don't think you can invalidate 6 laps on mistake, in a row. So I'm pretty sure he's doing this to himself. He's going to have a little bit of fun from the backside, trying to fight up towards the rest of the grid. But one thing to mention is that regardless of where he starts, he is the only VIP driver in tonight's racing. So there is no Peter McKay, there is no Ryan Marine. So he's a little bit of a solo dog here tonight.
Well, that's okay. Not a big deal. Hey, Joseph Holman, other driver in the 59.969, barely under that 2-minute mark, but still, that's good enough. So you're a provisional front row right now, both with 1 minute 59 second laps. Although John Song, about 9/10 of a second faster than Holman. No surprise there. Speaking of Holman, we're watching him make his way out of Collier, heading towards the tower turn. Now, here's what's interesting about tonight, Tristan. Yes, we are in the dark, but right now, mostly cloudy, 76 degrees, 0 chance for rain. Well, yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. You know what? Maybe it's a good thing we're not running in the rain in the dark.
Yeah, that could prove quite challenging, especially with in terms of visibility for the drivers. We don't have a massive grid of over 25 cars where we've got action all over the track. Unfortunately, with the slightly smaller grid, the dark and the rain could create quite a difficult mixture for us to try and keep up with the drivers. But yeah, I think especially at a circuit like this, it could be a little bit difficult for us to follow on, and also for the drivers to try and follow on. But here's this lap from Johnson. It's purple through a couple of the sectors, and it's yellow through a couple of the others as well. But I think he's going to be faster overall. I'm just waiting for that timings tower to update, and it actually I don't think was faster. He had a couple of faster sectors, but I think those slow sectors were just a little bit too drastic. Oh, and Blake McGovern comes in. There's another 59 up on the board, and 110 faster than Holman now. So at least the two pros all the way up at the top now.
Yeah, so it'll be a pro front row for the time being. We have just about maybe one good flyer left for a lot of these drivers. I only see about 6 drivers. 7 drivers. Math not my strong suit, apparently. Now it's Alexis Castillo goes into the pits. We'll see if anybody can improve upon their times. There is your club leader on the points and on the track, Joseph Holman, in his what we'll call the embezzled sponsor car. I think he'd get a kick out of that one. Sitting in third overall, and really I think he's been the star of the club show so far. Looking at the points, obviously 30 points ahead of Max Flierman and Anthony Castillo, but he's really proven that if he can get into a race car, Tristan, he's going to be quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And before the race starts, we've got some singing to do for Mr. Jacob Harder down in 7th. Happy birthday to Jacob Harder, and he's chosen to come and race with us here at Kellymoss. So great stuff. I see the virtual grandstand is going on, but I'm not seeing anyone fully recite the happy birthday song, and I'm kind of wanting that. So somebody better do it in the chat for Mr. Jacob Harder. I'm wanting to see the full thing. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, happiest birthdays there to Jacob Harder. Let's hope that he can pull something strong in today's racing. But that's officially our qualifying session over, and boy oh boy, heading into this next race, I think it's going to be a close one between these drivers.
I think you're right. And we'll do the warm-up session. And while we do the warm-up session, let's go ahead and take a look at the track map as the field will work their way around this 3.6-mile former airstrip, former naval base, or Air Force base, World War II base, we'll call it, around turn 1. That's going to be you go wide all the way narrow, setting up for the turn 2-3 complex. Now, you hang a left, and that sets yourself up for 3, 4, and 5. Go under the bridge, through the big bend. That's where you can carry a lot of speed towards the short straightaway, towards the hairpin. Of course, you're going to have a lot of fans sitting there in the on the grass, in the hotel there, watching as you work your way through the hairpin. That's where a lot of drivers have a lot of issues. And then through Fangio, 8 and 9, you go left instead of going right through the IndyCar testing pits, which sets you up for turn number 10. The hard right-hander goes into 11, Collier, and then 12, 13, you got the tower corner. Keep going straight, and that will, once you come off of turn number 12, you don't want to go right and use the rest of the IndyCar testing track. Not very fun, so we'll tell Dan just to keep going straight over there, 13, over to 14. That's Bishop Bend, and sets you back up to the runway area into 15 and 16, Le Mans. Then down the long Ullman Straight. It's long, and you're going to be drafting off somebody, chances are, towards turn number 17, Sunset Bend. You want to make sure that you're defending yourself all throughout that corner, the bumps and everything. Make sure you set yourself upright under the Mobile One Bridge, around the exit of the straightaway, onto the pit straight, and that is a 3.6-mile lap around Sebring.
Well, we know that if we ever lose camera feed yet tonight, we know where to find Jim. He's going to be sitting towards the top there at Cunningham Corner, so he's officially reserved his seat for the rest of this race. And so if we do lose Jim, apologies about that one, guys, but at least we know where to find him if that does happen. But that's officially the track map. And as Jeremy mentioned, the ex airbase, the ex airstrip turned into quite a good racing track, and it really has proved to be one of the greatest events in terms of endurance racing as we've seen. And if you're any specials with iRacing, special events like obviously the Sebring 12 hours is the main one that happens around this track, and I mean it really does pull a lot of traction. So it's always great to see. We've got about 10 seconds left of our warm-up, and then we head to our starting grid. But I've got to say, my thoughts for this race is just general excitement. I know we've only got 10 cars on the grid, but man, this pack at Kellymoss, they really do tend to know what to do in terms of providing the action on the YouTube.
It really does. And I was making sure Jim was paying attention there. So he was, which is good. So that makes life a little bit easier. We did see the birthday boy kind of make a slide around the corner, and now that ends this practice session, essentially the warm-up session. Now we're getting ready to race as the cars will grid up. We'll see them one by one. I think we might, there maybe have been a petition for a shorter pace lap. We'll get more on that here in just a little bit. Aaron Johnsong, your pole sitter with a 59.080. Blake McGovern alongside. So the pros will be on the front row. Joseph Holman and Anthony Castillo make up row 2. Row 3, Carl Lemkuhl and Max Fleerman.
Yeah, Jacob Harder, the birthday boy, sits just a bit further behind in 7th. Cameron Cool taking 8th. Followed by Nathan Warder, and then our final driver on the grid who wasn't able to set a lap time. And like we mentioned, not able to set it, not because he was struggling, because he wanted to. He wants to prove himself here from the back. The only driver in the VIP class is going to be having some fun today, and that's Dan Clark, all the way at the backside of this grid. It does look like they're lining up on the normal start-finish straight. I'm not too sure if we're going to be having a full formation lap here. It might be a bit of a longer one here at Sebring, especially with the smaller grid, but obviously, we'll wait and see. The pace car is still yet to pull off as we wait for that session clock. There it goes. Safety car has indeed pulled off, and the rest of the Porsches will follow on like a gaggle of geese, following its Porsche mother. It's a full Porsche grid over here today. And there you can really just see the darkness of Sebring. So those couple of patches of light is what's mentioned as the little bit of light that's allowed out in track. So a couple of street lamps highlighting the guest areas around the actual circuit. But in terms of the actual areas where the drivers race on the tarmac and on the concrete, there is absolutely zero lighting assistance, and the drivers have to fully rely on those headlights. So the last thing a driver wants to do is floor it into a wall and possibly lose both of those front headlights. It's going to be a bit of a difficult one to try and get it back to the pit lane without smacking into something.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of the lights come from the corner station as well, with the marshals having to display their flags. But either way, something that you won't see here that you'll see at the real Sebring in a couple of weeks. If you've been following anything on Facebook, Instagram, the X, is that there is a new bridge on the Ullman Straits halfway down. It goes from the drivers left into the paddock area. So, you've got all those fans who camp out on the back straightaway. Now they can make their way across the Ullman Bridge without getting yelled at by crossing Sunset Bend in the car-only bridge. I'm not saying I've done that before. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have done that.
Thankfully, I can't relate, and thankfully, I've got in trouble with that, being a couple of 1,000 kilometers away from this. But it's great to see that they're providing on venue assistance like that. I obviously don't know the layout of this, but if you're mentioning it's a car bridge and people are walking on it, I don't think the two are supposed to mix at the same time. That doesn't sound like the safest journey, if you're me. So I mean, Jeremy, you seem to be doing not the correct things, taking a car bridge. But it is great to see that they've created a proper bridge at the circuit. It's always nice to see tracks evolve as they. I mean, what is the history of Sebring? You might know. I mean, this is obviously based on a military base or an airstrip. So I mean, it's been out here for quite a while. I would assume.
First race back in 1959, and really it's basically, like you said, the mecca of American endurance racing. Heck, I mean, you see some of the European teams come over and do testing here for the 24 Hours of Le Mans because it gives them a chance to test their equipment, which is absolutely very interesting. I will say the first time I was there was back in 2013 as as basically an admin for a Pro-Am racing series. I always heard the stories that Sebring was rough. I never realized how rough because it tore up my shoes, the brand new shoes I got there. And ever since then, it's like, okay, take some beat up shoes. So I've done that. Speaking of admins, Kellymoss admin saying Donnie Leonard and Ted Burns are on a plane flying south for work, so they will have some catch up next week. Of course, with the drop weeks, I think that they're A-okay. So We'll see what they can do with us next time out, and we got to get Ryan Marine and Peter Mackay out. I think they actually, now that I think about it, I think they're both in Australia for the 12 hours of Bathurst. Pat, lights out on the pace cars. They go under the Mission Bridge. I'm so used to being at the Mobile One WeatherTech Bridge, but yeah, it's the Mission Bridge as the Porsche pace car comes around into the pits. Aaron Johnson, Blake McGovern will take the field down the long straightaway. We are green here at Sebring. Thanks for joining us for 40 minutes of racing on the Kellymoss YouTube channel. A couple of three-wide battles near the back of the pack, but now we set our sights on turn one. Yes, it's wide and sets you up for turn number 2. Sorry, Tristan, go ahead.
No, apologies. Sorry, I thought we were finished there, but yeah, coming into turn number 1. And thankfully for the 10-car grid, nice and clean. Aaron Johnson able to keep his lead there from the number 25 car. It didn't look like he had the most aggressive pull-off like we've seen in the previous rounds. Blake McGovern still stayed relatively within distance. Dan Clark is already moving up, and up to 7th position. He will go 3 positions up. He did have a bit of a contact there, I believe, with the birthday board, the likes of Jacob Harder, but thankfully didn't take him out whatsoever. But he's already moving up the grid here, and I think that's exactly what the intention was of starting towards the back. He has Anthony Castillo, and now, as you can see, Dan Clark getting very close into the backside of that blue Porsche, and we could see an overtake yet again coming soon for Dan Clark to try and move up this grid.
Well, for somebody who basically somebody who has raced with some of the fastest drivers in the world, no surprise that Dan Clark sees this as not just a challenge, but just a little bit of fun. So he's got Harder under his rear wing, but he also closes in on Castillo. So working our way around for the first time this lap, we're down to single file conditions. Everybody close together. Cameron Cool does not look like that he has taken the start at all, so he is in the pit. So we started with 10, now we're answering with 9 cars, but Blake McGovern trying to do all he can to keep those mirrors of Aaron Johnson down the Ullman Straight, and that's where Johnson's going to gain all that time as everybody try to make their way in and around single file down the back straightaway. Johnson, McGovern, Lemcool, Holman, and Fleerman round out your top 5, but we're also seeing Castillo try and pop to the inside of Fleerman. He's not going to make anything happen, but that's going to give Dan Clark a chance to close in as they work their way through different interesting lines around Sunset Bend.
Yeah, I'm hoping that McGovern can stay within a bit of a reach of Johnson, because unfortunately we know what happens when Johnson does get that reach is he tends to run away, and that gap just extends. Water's gotten himself a meatball. What's happened with Water? He's definitely landed up in the wall somewhere, and he's been towed back to pit lane. The burger car seems to have spilled on itself. Where did he make a mistake? So this is Nathan Water a couple of minutes earlier. So this is him trailing towards the back end of the grid. Was there possibly a bit of an error here in the Porsche? And oh, there it is. You can see the correction. That is a massive crash for the driver. And right into the left-hand side wall. Tried to take the right-hander. The car just starts to lose the rear. Tries to catch it mid-turn. And unfortunately, at that kind of speed, if you do make one small error in terms of correction, well, the Porsche does become a bit of a fidget spinner, and that's exactly what happened. Water into the wall and into the pit lane now with damage.
I will take the heat for that one because I didn't have a burger for dinner. I had a patty melt. I'm sorry. That's my fault, Nathan. I won't do that next time. Anyway, working our way around Cunningham as Dan Clark now makes his way around tower turn as he's watching Fleerman and Castillo do their thing. And really, this is a smart game by Clark. Let these two wear themselves out, and eventually somebody's going to make a mistake, take a wheel off, which that happens here, which is great because you have so much runoff, but it's all natural runoff in spite of this area where that's actually part of the tarmac. So now once something happens there, Ward is actually out of the pits now, so he is back underway. Either way, Castillo and Fleerman nose to tails are side by side going down the back straightaway.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed as well. Cameron Cool's coming out of the pit lane, so he's managed to sort whatever issues he's at. And we've resumed on a 10-car racing grid here tonight for round number 6, which is great to see. We've extended it yet again. He is going to be a lap down, unfortunately, and so not going to really be competing for the time being. But it is side by side between these two, Anthony Castillo and the likes of Maxwell Fleerman. And we saw how aggressive Fleerman was last week at Virginia Inter Raceway. He was really having some good racing last week, and particularly with Dan Clark. And now he's in a similar situation. Dan Clark right behind him, Castillo right up in front in that blue Porsche. What can Fleerman do? Is he going to remain in a bit of a sandwich here? Is he going to try and attack the driver up in front? or is he going to have to try and remain defensive to keep Dan Clark behind at bay? We'll have to watch and see for the driver of here what's going to happen, as we still have most of the drivers up towards the front have begun to distance themselves a little bit. There's now 2-second gap from Johnson to Blake McGovern. And Jeremy, I think we're already starting to see the good old pattern is forming there up in front. It's not the greatest pattern to see, but it is unfortunately the reality here when you've got such a fast real-life driver sitting up at the top of the grid.
Well, and it's something also I wanted to point out, you know as well as I do from doing this as long as you have, that it doesn't matter where you're at. Sometimes you're racing with the same person each and every race. So this to me looks like the nighttime version of last week, where Dan Clark just chased down Castillo and Flierman, and once one of them, just took a wheel off. Again, it doesn't have to be anything major. That's all that Dan needed, as to move up. So Dan's patient. I know these are words I would not say 15, 20 years ago when he was running Champ Car. Actually, 20 years ago. Man, I'm old. But Dan has learned a lot of patience, especially with running the Porsche GT3 platform. So no surprise here that he's able to kind of sit there, bide his time. It's still a long race. We have less than 35 minutes left to go in this race. Anything can happen here at Sebring. It's funny, too. By the way, Cameron Cool back out on circuit as well. Nathan's mom says, uh-oh, a smash burger. So, yeah, I wish I had a smash burger.
Yeah, I think we would have prevented something if we had a smash burger. He has a second smash burger, apparently. I think he's lost out again as he's trying to hold his worth here around track. Just trying to rejoin over that curb, and that's enough to settle the Porsche. Thankfully, he's got an entire parking lot of running off space over there, so he can remain back on track, not too much further damage, and the source can remain in the burger instead of out of the track. But I think Dan Clark, like you mentioned, also I think he learned a little bit from last week's racing. He was very aggressive on lap number 1 and tried to make a deep lunge overtake on 2 drivers going into turn number 1, and unfortunately that resulted in him facing backwards coming down the downhill after turn number 1 at Virginia International. So it looks like he's taking a little bit more steady racing style here, and like you mentioned, he's just watching and waiting, seeing what's going to happen with Flierman and Castillo. They're both fighting with each other. Clark is now 3/10 behind Flierman, so maybe he'll make an overtake himself. But other than that, like you mentioned, one mistake from Castillo or Flierman, and Clark's going to see an open window and jump for it.
Well, as long as he keeps close here, I have a feeling that we're going to see a move into Sunset Bend. You're on board with Joseph Holman as he sets his sights on Carl Lemkool in that number 95, working his way onto the airport section once again. Sets up through the S's, past the old WEC pit in, and now through Le Mans down to the Ulman Straight. This is going to be interesting to see if Holman can catch up. I think he's a little bit too far away, as well as Speedy Dan. So everybody get a hold station. Actually, Dan is closing in just ever so slightly. A good exit off of Le Mans, setting down for the Ulman Straight. And that's going to be key here, especially later on in the race. You don't want to waste your tires, but at the same time, you want to keep that driver ahead of you within sight, because you've got only a handful of great passing opportunities. 1, 7, 13, 16, and 17 as now Dan Clark closes in, heading down the front straightaway. He's going to go look to the inside of Flierman in that Jeff Gordon-inspired number 419. Gets the move done, but does he keep it? Will Flierman try the over-under through turn 2? No, he doesn't. So move Clark up one more spot to 6, and with a nice offensive line, he's going to keep him behind him.
Yeah, it was a great move out to the inside of turn number 1 there from Dan Clark, and a little bit textbook as well. I mean, great dive up on the inside line. They both gave each other ample space to make that work, and the number 50 will move up into 6th position. But I was going to say, it's also just the time and duration chosen here at the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship. I feel like it's a great sweet spot for the Porsche in terms of racing this car to its absolute limits, but also not having to worry too much about the tires dying out on you. The GT3s usually can last about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes on an endurance stint, obviously depending on fuel loads and tire wear at specific tracks. But with the 40-minute lap time, it is slightly under that stint of the tires being fully worn out. And so for these 40 minutes, basically, it's essentially a slightly longer sprint race for them. They get to push as hard as they possibly want to, as just a little bit of a blipping. There we go. We're all back and going fine. But Joseph Holman back up and forth. But exactly what I was saying is that the drivers can push as much as they want to without sacrificing too much of that tire life, as it's only a 40-minute race. So back on board with Joseph Holman. He's now lost out to Lemkel since the start of this race, down one position. Can he make it up, or is he going to sit dormant behind the team driver?
That's the question. Does Holman decide to just hold on? And I think he's going to. And I think that turn one's going to be the next opportunity for him to get around Lemkel, as Lemkel goes for a little bit. A little wide there. So Holman will not be able to capitalize on that unless he gets a really good exit coming off that final corner and does not get the launch that he needs. He scrubbed off enough speed to lose that distance, but was still able to hold on to that number 94, which is absolutely fantastic, because if you get out in those marbles, it's going to shove you right into those tire bundles.
Yeah, you've got to watch out for those tire bundles. That will be a race ruiner, as we see Joseph Holman is getting ever so close now onto the backside. And unfortunately, the only other driver out on grid right now who's within a relative overtaking distance is Fleerman back onto Clark. I don't know if that's going to happen for the time being. There we go. As we're speaking, we get another bit of a chase over there. So that's now Castillo onto the backside of Holman, and Holman onto the backside of Lemkel. So we've got a fight currently for the podium, with Lemkel leading that charge. Castillo was 4/10, 5/10. He's down to 1 second now. So not too sure what happened to Castillo there. He was very close onto the backside of Holman, but he's dropped off slightly. And so now Holman right on the backside of Lemkel. The more that they fight, the more that they're going to create the distance behind, that the drivers are going to begin to minimize. And Castillo and Clark are going to get closer towards the top here to try and score even more points on the board here today.
And remember, they've got 3 drop rounds that these drivers can take. I think Marine is there. Mackay might have 1 more in the bank. So regardless, with this run, Dan will take the points lead in the VIPs. As you're still watching, it's interesting because it looked like Lemkel had a little bit of a slide there going into turn number 15, heading into Le Mans. So we'll see what happens here. See if he scrubbed off a little bit of a run. And the way that Holman's closing in, he indeed lost a little bit there. Not going to make it happen. We'll see if Holman can keep it nice and tight through Sunset Bend. And no, he seems to lose it just a little bit. Lemkel's just faster. Oh, who was that went a little wide there? Not sure. Was that Warda? That might be Warda who went wide. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's Cameron Cool who went wide there at Sunset Bend. Let some of the faster drivers through. And Holman still not close enough to make a move happen.
Yeah, Cool's now parked himself in between the likes of that battle just behind Castillo of Clark and Castillo. So you'll see behind him it's going to be a little bit of an aggressive push there, as we see Joseph Holman with Castillo behind. And he's going to be trying to get past now to push on further onto the backside of Holman. And Dan Clark is only going to get closer and closer to the likes of Castillo, and he's got to watch out. There he does now make the move to get ahead of the back marker. Dan Clark will be next to try and get up ahead. And Castillo, which was an 8/10 gap, has now been taken to a 1.1 second gap after that back marker being involved. And he's going to have to push on again to try and chase on to Holman. And Holman's only mission right now, try and get ahead of Lemkel and try and push on stronger in that podium spot and possibly try and pull away. He has Dan Clark actually going side by side with Cameron Cool as if they were racing for position here. And eventually Cool does succeed the position there to the likes of Dan Clark. And he will move up into 6th position. Well, he doesn't move up in position. He just moves up in relative. And still 6th position, chasing onto the backside of Castillo.
I have a feeling this is going to be a race-long battle until somebody decides they want to make the move. That somebody most likely being Holman, as he has been able to close in, heading into those braking zones, but not been able to capitalize. You see those headlights of Cameron Cool kind of glowing off in the distance behind these two, but either way, everybody kind of staying where they are at right now with just about 14 minutes into this race. By the way, John Song, last time by, set the fastest lap of the race, 59.132. I'm going to go out and make a prediction that Johnson's going to be in the 58s at some point. Ooh, a little bit of a rub there off of Lemkel. Let's keep on this, but I have a feeling that Johnson is probably going to dip into the 58s sometime this race. Holman's about as close as he's been all race long, closing in on Lemkel. Jim, if we can get a replay of that wall hit, because I saw a little bit of dust. Lemkel's lucky he didn't collect anybody.
Thankfully, Lemcool still able to hold in third position. And yeah, exactly like you were saying over there, Johnson, we did see it from the qualifying. He has this a bit of a wall tap there. You saw it from Lemcool. From that camera angle, a little bit harder to see. We'll try and see. Unfortunately, we can't go back there. But we did see him grind up against the wall, and that would have slowed him down slightly towards Holman, just trying to chase up behind him. And that's indeed what's happening. But like you mentioned, in qualifying, we saw that Johnson was going 3 sectors purple, and then he had a couple of the yellow sectors which were in that lap. But that lap time, if he didn't get all of those yellows, would have definitely been a 158 or a sub 159 lap time. And I definitely agree with you. Johnson is eventually going to get into that state where he's not thinking about the race anymore, and he's just putting in lap after lap after lap. And funny enough, sometimes when you get into that motive and you're not just trying to become the fastest driver out on track, you end up actually setting the faster lap times just by doing what you know. And that's exactly what Johnson doing. 8 seconds almost up against McGovern. And man, he's been having a couple of solo races yet in this league so far. And I think it's going to just further extend as the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, for Johnson, this is just a test session for him right now to get ready for the opening round of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America schedule. And of course, also, I'm thinking back to Jim. Of course, thanks for trying to look for that incident that we all saw, that you and I saw. We all saw it here. AI did not see it. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why AI will never take our jobs as broadcasters at all. Period.
Yeah, got to agree with you there. There'll always be that human flavor, that human touch, something that only humans would be able to see, and definitely agree. I think we'll be here for quite a while. So if you don't like me and Jeremy, well, too bad. You're gonna have to keep us for a while before being replaced by some monotone AI voice. But there's a 3-way battle that has been changed up, and you can see it on the live timings board. The numbers have turned orange across the likes of Lemcool, Castillo, and Clark a little bit further behind. So now this is the battle for third, and it's turned into a 4-way fight. Holman's going to hold off from Lemcool, Castillo, and Clark, and all of them are going to be fighting behind. You can see how close the likes of Lemcool has gotten onto the backside of Joseph Holman now, and he might even be looking into the next couple of corners, trying to find a way around. You can see it just on the backside of that chicken farm-inspired livery of Holman and Lemcool, looking everywhere to try and see if he can find a spot to make that overtake.
And once again, I think that this is going to be how Dan Clark catches up and gets back onto the podium as Lemcool, and we're going to see how Holman got by as well. And once again, it was just a draft fest around. Once again, take a look at that. And Holman works his way back up to third around Lemcool. And wow, that was right there. Textbook, as he didn't touch him, Tristan. He just decided, he said, here's the line you're going to take. And you know what? That was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great great racing strat there from Holman. It is indeed a textbook play. It's you can see that Lemcool's a little bit annoyed with it there, flashing the headlights, but like we mentioned, 0 contact being made, and technically you cannot complain about that whatsoever. Forcing a driver into a line that they're not used to, it just disadvantages them, but in all the fairest ways. So great move from Holman, just showing that experience of how to get up in front of a car and ensure that you stick that position instead of it being a back and forth through the next couple of corners, and he's made it work. But Lemcool's not giving up just yet. You can see how close he is on the backside of that car. It's just under 2/10 now, coming into turn number 1. And Lemcool will try and find any form of opportunity he can to get back up into third position, but he also has to watch out from behind. The more he pushes here in front and he reduces that lap time, the closer Castillo and Clark are going to get. They have all breached within the 5/10 mark now, and all 3 numbers have officially been highlighted in orange. There's no more yellow figures, and so it is all coming down now. One small train for the battle for third. The question is, at the end of this 40-minute race, where we're about to head into halfway, who's going to come out on that final spot of the podium?
That's where half the battle is. It's all the battles right now, but it's going to be interesting to see as we're just about halfway through this race. So we have this new feature. It's called the Prediction Smack that we have in our Sim Racers. Here comes Clark to the inside of Castillo. He gets up into fifth. He's going to keep that position through Cunningham and take fifth place overall. Now has his sights set on Lemcool. He lost a little bit of ground, but either way, Clark was able to get through and make the pass happen. Anyway, so we have a prediction server here in our Kelly Sim Racing server on the Discord, and I'm looking at the smack talk, and maybe if admin can agree with me in the chat, I have a feeling that if not, that I'm going to go wild card, and I might actually go on a couple smacks that I saw on the live chat. So keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your mind, Tristan. We'll talk about that a little bit during the post race. Clark is now close within 0.2 of a second on Lemcool for that fourth position.
Yeah, and he's going to continue to chase, and we've officially hit that 20-minute mark, so 1/2 left to go in this race. A quick 20-minute sprint for all these Porsche drivers, and Dan Clark, that's the amount of time he's got left. He's made 5 positions happen in the first 20 minutes. The question is, can he make the same or similar amount to get up into that podium by the end of this race? Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be catching up to Johnson anytime soon. That's a huge 10-second gap, but possibly could catch up to his student. You can see the green Porsche just there in the distance, now taking the left-hander over there. So Dan Clark has got his eyes set up in front, trying to match his student's pace possibly, but he's got to get past 2 obstacles first. It's Lemcool and Holman, 2 very fast drivers up in front, the number 95 and the number 94, who will not make it easy for Dan Clark to get past. The red Porsche is going to have to work hard if he wants to render any possible results. Under the mobile bridge, they will go into the braking zone, and he looks like he's going to try and make it, through the right-hander chicane, a very difficult style chicane, but not for Dan Clark. Up 6 positions total. Into 4th he will go. Now chasing onto Holman and his student to Blake McGovern. This is where the racing starts to get good for Dan Clark. The last to first challenge is active.
Yeah, let's call it the last to second challenge. Come on, let's be real here, because Johnson already opening up almost an 11-second lead. Oh, and admin gave the thumbs up to my idea, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with the smack bonus point. Oh, we go out of Dan Clark. Oh, that's not good, as he's going to lose 2 positions that he tried to make up. So he is now down to 6. So the chase is on once again for Castillo. I think he just carried a little bit too much speed through Tower Turn, and we'll see if we have a little bit of a replay there, because, yeah, we do. Let's take a look at this. So works his way around Collier, and goes a little wide. Let's see what happens here. He was wiggling just before the brake zone.
Yeah, just coming in there, he started losing the rear. He was able to catch it, though, and just getting shoved out onto the left-hand side. That could have been a lot worse, though. Brake bar is slightly wrong there on Dan Clark's car. That could have been into the wall, possibly, but he was able to save it. And, 2 positions lost. He's still got 20 minutes to try and make up for it, but it's going to be even more difficult to try and chase onto the backside of McGovern. You were right, indeed. It is the battle from last to second, because it's a whole different pool to try and climb up to where Johnson is, and we'll have to see what the drivers can do, though. There he is, unfortunately, sitting all by himself. I hope he's got some Spotify or something on. Otherwise, he is sitting in absolute quietness just around this dark circuit. I hope he's got some good tunes playing.
I'm moving up and down, side to side. Yeah, anyway, I'm sure. Did you hear during the Rolex, during that 6-hour caution full course yellow, which it's still explaining to me why they did that, but that's neither here nor there. Nobody can do math in race control. Anyway, sorry, Bo. I know I'll hear about it from you later. Anyway, that Connor Zilich was actually singing songs. I don't know if it was over his radio, which if it was, I feel so bad for Peter Barron, the race strategist. But he was singing songs during that long yellow just to keep himself occupied. So it is possible.
Oh, he's probably keeping the race engineer active as well, especially in longer event races. That race engineer probably also gets a little bit bored when it starts to dissipate, and having some good old tunes from your driver. The question is, can he actually sing? That's the case for most drivers. He definitely can drive, so hopefully the singing component is also close to what that represents. Sometimes, I mean, you've heard it in F1. I don't know if Lando Norris was ever made to try and be in a band, but thankfully that's not what he was called for. He was called to be up in Formula One, and he can keep his tunes in the radio, but I don't think it's ever going to go outside of the car.
Well, I'd rather have a Carlos Sainz sing to me than
100%.
Yes, like a smooth operator. But I know ways you can keep Peter Barron busy, to say the least. Oh, Fernando Alonso, yeah, as we used to see Lemcool take the high line around Sunset Bend, but another lap, and I think Clark's going to be able to catch these two drivers here very momentarily, so he didn't lose too much to begin with. That's the good news. The better news is he's going to be able to catch up, and something I was thinking too, as Johnson runs another fast lap of 59.053, oh so close to that 58. Come on, Aaron, I want you to do it, but if Dan Clark was about 10 years younger, I think he and Johnson would go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, most probably. I think it would be definitely a close fight between them, and he's got the pace to do it. And I feel like also if he started on second, which he definitely could have, he would have had a much better chance to try and fight there with Johnson. But obviously he goes for that first challenge, and he's done it now 2 races in a row. But we're talking about singing. You're talking about singing in the car. I'm talking more about compositions. We also had Sebastian Vettel who had entire songs created on YouTube based on complaints. I mean, that's got to be a talent as well. Some drivers singing it. He was genuinely complaining, and someone decided, let's turn this into an absolute hit. And I mean, it's happened, and it's probably going to happen again in the future with other drivers.
Oh, it definitely will. And that was a nice pass that Dan Clark made on Castillo for 5th overall. Now sets his sight on Carl Lemcool, your team leader, in 4th place. Closing in on him, heading towards the Ullman Straight. And it's interesting, too, because, that's going to be a nice side-by-side battle. High, wide, handsome Clark gets 4th place and now tries to keep it in one piece so he can get up to Holman and his student. He's got about 4 seconds, and I like that idea, Jim. Let's take a look at this pass again. Tristan, give us your insight.
Yeah, it was a great overtake there coming from Dan Clark. Absolute send, though. And I mean, we've seen he's not afraid to do the stands. You can see Lemco, a little bit of an error coming out of the right-hander. And I think Dan Clark saw the door, he saw the opportunity, and he was like, I'm not wasting this. He's already lost those 2 positions due to a slight driver error on that Porsche. And now, within literally 2 laps, he's back up to where he should have been. Up into 4th he will go. And 2.3 seconds of a gap to Holman. He has the prediction I'm throwing out is that the next 2 to 3 laps, I don't know, Clark is flying 2 to 3 laps, and he's going to be on the backside of Holman. I know Holman is an incredibly fast driver, but I feel like Clark has got something in his blood here tonight. He wants to get up into 2nd, and he's going to be chasing to try and get up into that podium spot here. The number 50 is aggravated. He wants to get up there. No, he's really not aggravated. We've heard Dan Clark in the interview room. He's the most unserious when it comes to the Kellymoss League. He gives us the funniest insights as well. It's like, oh yeah, haven't driven this track in a couple of months. Was spinning out. Just joined. It was a lot of fun though, and he still manages to sit up here in the top spot. So it's just great to see in general his racing style and racing alongside Lemco Castillo, and now chasing onto Holman.
That's Dan, but it's when you have tasted the top of your sport, and you do anything else, it's like, whatever. I'm just, I'm having fun, and that's the best part of this sport is, you see some of the top drivers. I mean, heck, take a look at Sebastian Bourdais. It was just announced that he's going to be running the MX5 Cup race at St. Petersburg. 4-time Champ Car champion, which, by the way, I'm going to go off topic from Porsche racing. Somebody on Reddit said, "Oh, he's got to be one of the most overrated champions." Come on, do you not remember how tough 07 was?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie to you. You've thrown me into one of those spots again where I have absolutely no idea who you were talking about, Jeremy. But you can further explain on that one if you want to. But currently, it's getting closer yet again because Castillo is right on the backside of Lemco, and that was happening now while you were having a chat about that other topic. But Castillo now right on the backside, and we could possibly see another overtake coming here on Lemco, and Castillo getting up into that top 5 and possibly chasing onto the backside of Dan Clark.
I feel like I'm commentating with my wife. Thanks, Tristan. That makes me feel so much better about myself. Castillo, though, yeah, I mean, really, he's been all over the backside of Lemco whenever he can, but I have a feeling that most of the positions are going to stay steady, unless Dan Clark can catch up to Holman, which he's run a little bit faster than Holman, about a half second this past time by. By the way, John Sung, another fast lap, 59.034, so inching closer and closer. maybe I should just get inside Johnson's head and say, you know what, just push 10 tenths. I want to see that 58. We've got to see that 58 at some point. Castillo, though, trying to close in. You know, it's funny. Castillo has a very bright paint scheme. It's not showing up here in the darkness. What is showing up in the darkness is Carl Lemkool's darn near day glow paint scheme headed out of tower and towards the mall.
Yeah, I think he's got a bit of an advantage, though, in terms of his glow, because he's been in the dead headlights of a couple of cars for the past lap. So we've been able to see that Porsche really glow. I feel like if Anthony Castillo gets up ahead, we're going to really see that Porsche livery shine. Currently, it looks like he's rocking Johnson's copy. You know, all you can see is a bit of a black carcass of that Porsche, with it being so dark on the outside. And you worry sometimes for someone like Johnson, who's actually rocking a black livery. If he had to, was it something that happened there? I heard something.
No, Aaron did it. 58.869. He did it.
Oh, there we go. Your prediction was indeed correct. And 58.8, faster than his qualifying lap even. This man is on a completely different mission. I was just talking about losing him in the dark. Like, what happens if Johnson just decides to turn his lights off for a couple of laps? He's literally going to be invisible on the circuit here at Sebring.
I'd pay good money to see that. That'd be interesting. I mean, you know, here's the thing, too. You might be able to see some of the reflective strips there along driver's left or driver's right. There's enough light here at the circuit where you could technically get away with it. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I would imagine with the iRacing UI, it'd be a little bit difficult to do that. Drivers who've dipped below the 2-minute mark, Aaron Johnson, as he said, 58.869. The second fastest to that is Dan Clark, the 59.583. Then you got to go to Anthony Castillo, 59.747, a fantastic flyer from him. And Joseph Holman, who also had a 59 in qualifying, 59.844. So handful of drivers getting under that 2-minute mark.
Indeed so. And we still have Clark, 1.5 seconds on the backside of Holman. And unfortunately, that prediction of mine has gone out the window. I said 3 laps. We're already on the 3rd lap now. And 1.5 seconds is indeed still the chasing distance. We've only got 8 minutes left of racing here. Today's events have gone quite fast. I can't lie to you, Jeremy. One moment it was the starting procedure. Next minute, we're in that final short sprint to get towards the end of it. And Clark has got to work for it. He is faster than Holman currently, but it's ever so slight. You can see it's now 1.4 seconds between the two of them. But he is really going to have to work hard in these last 8 minutes if he wants to try and catch Holman.
So it sounds like Dan Clark with a couple of, you know, maybe 1Xs, 0Xs, off courses, no harms, no fouls. Here comes Lemkool losing just a little bit, coming around Sunset Bend. That's going to give Castillo a chance to get a good exit off the final corner. And Lemkool's going to shut the front door on Castillo heading into turn number 1. But yeah, I'm thinking Clark is probably content with 4th place unless he can catch up to Holman. He might be able to. He's still running a half second faster. And looking at the lap times left, yeah, we've got enough time to where if Clark really can do it, he'll be able to catch up to him, but I don't think he's going to catch up to McGovern unless some sort of monumental task. And what I was going to say, yeah, I remember. It's like, yeah, it just seems like we were going through the pace lap, but that's just how this club racing series is. If you're looking to get into a special club like the Kellymoss Club, log on to kellymoss.com and you too can be a part of the series. And heck, even race with some of the fastest Porsche drivers in North America and around the world. Clark now within 0.8 of a second on Holman, and Holman is closing in on McGovern as well. So he might be able to get to second by the time this race is over.
Yeah, he's really pushing to try and get this. Last lap, he was 0.8 faster than Holman. So I feel like Dan Clark is now kind of locked in. He kind of saw, oh, wait, there's only 7 minutes left of the session. Maybe I should, put the foot down and try and see if I can catch up. And he really did reduce that 1.4 seconds down to 0.8 in 1 lap. And now, as you can see, it's already down to 0.7. So he's really pushing that Porsche now, trying to get on the backside of Holman. And just up in front is Blake McGovern. It's not a huge gap. It's actually pretty much equivalent between the 3 of them as they come down the straight now. And like you mentioned, if Dan Clark pushes hard enough here, he could possibly snatch second away from Blake McGovern. It's going to be a very, very hard pull if he can do this. I think he's going to be able to catch Holman in the next couple of laps, but catching McGovern, especially with McGovern defending, is going to be a little bit difficult there for Clark to try and get up into second.
Well, I mean, you know, we do know that at the end of every broadcast, Clark goes, "Yeah, I need to go make dinner." So I'm wondering if the hunger that he's experiencing is kind of making him drive a little faster. Maybe we should tell his better half, or even a good friend of his, who we all know, the Aussie Ryan Lewis, to kind of delay lunch off of him, so that way he can be even hungrier behind the wheel, and maybe we'll see how fast he can go. He's yet to dip into the 58, although he did do a 59.199 that was not counted as a fast lap because he did notch at least a 1X. But Clark closing in on Holman for that third place overall. And now Holman's within a second of McGovern. So, yeah, he's within. So Clark's within striking distance of second place.
Yeah, definitely. So 5 minutes left of racing, though. That striking distance, if he wants it, he's going to have to work for it. There's no more sitting behind the two cars over here and just waiting for something to happen. He's got to take matters into his own hands now. As you can see, that front brake disc is absolutely glowing on the Porsche. That brake bias is screaming towards the front-hand side. As he literally, he's going to have to do whatever he's got in the tank right now to try and get past whatever's left of these tires. He's going to have to utilize these. He's going to have to scrub a bit to try and get up ahead. And as you can see, he is trying so much. We hear the burger has slightly spilled up again out on track. Hopefully, it's not too much of a hectic spillage that's nice and easy to clean. He has your replay of Nathan Water. And it looks like coming through one of the right-handers. Was it an unsettlement again of the rear? So over the curbs he will go. Is it the same curb? It's the same curb, same spot into that open parking lot. And looks like he actually just wants to park the car for the night and leave it there.
Yeah, Ward is not having it his way, and he's not loving it either way. So, what a shame. But either way, you've got this battle for third. We'll call the battle for second, actually. And then behind them, you've got the battle for fifth heating up here in the closing stages of this race. So, two important battles which will determine who is going to finish where overall. Of course, you don't have to worry too much about the top step of the podium, as those are all pretty much decided. John Song is your leader in the pro. You've got Holman in the club, Clark in VIP, and Lemkool in the team. So your top five, four of the top five are your class leaders so far in this race. As Castillo trying to do all he can to get around Lemkool. Once again, not going to make it happen too far away. Don't want to make a dive here in the hairpin, but if this were probably a couple minutes later, yeah, you would have seen that kind of move.
Yeah, definitely. So 3 minutes left to go now, and all the drivers are really going to have to work hard. Castillo's on the backside, though, of Lemkool, and this is the closest he's been in the past couple of laps. It was now down to 1.8 tenths coming into the next right-hander over there, but he has started to fall slightly further back. Now looking up on the inside line, almost going side by side there, but does decide to pull it out, not taking anything too far risky, or possibly risking an off-track. Also back up to the top, Holman is right on the backside of McGovern, and Clark is also. This three-way fight is going to get very interesting towards the end of this race because they are all within tandem now. It is bumper to bumper. It's green to blue to red. And who's going to come out on top? Which marble is going to win this race? It depends on who comes out on top because it is so close. Holman on the rear, now breaking out left from the likes of Blake McGovern. Is he going to be able to take it along the outside, or is Dan Clark going to see the inside line? And it looks like he is. Dan Clark's going to take the inside. Will it be a double from Dan Clark? He's going side by side with Blake McGovern now, and Dan Clark holding that outside line. He's going to have the slipstream disadvantage, though, as Holman gets boxed in, currently boxed in completely, and he's going to lose out from Dan Clark, who now tries to go side by side with his student. And this is exactly what we wanted to see from Dan Clark coming towards the end of this race.
Clark gets deeper on the brakes. They're side by side, leading on each other through turn number 3 as they work their way around 4, 5, and 6. still neck and neck from one another, but Clark's going to have the line going into the hairpin this time by. But who does Holman go with? This time he picks Clark, going down into turn number 17 around Big Bend, and now into 7. Here comes Clark to the inside and makes his way up to second. The last second charge continues as Holman and McGovern now are neck and neck heading into Fangio towards Cunningham. Once again, McGovern does not have the advantage, but Holman has the line, has the nose. They're going to lean on each other once again around turn 10. McGovern's going to try and go high, wide, and handsome. Not going to make it happen, but taps one another, and that's going to give Holman a chance to lose out.
Yeah, Holman just unfortunately losing out there, and you can see he's flashing the lights. Not happy with that one. I believe there was a bit of a tap there between the two of them. And Blake McGovern will remain in third. Dan Clark has already pulled 2 seconds ahead due to the fighting behind. And that battle is provisionally over. Second position looks pretty confirmed. He has the contact, though, between the two, I believe, as they come through. You can see Dan Clark just a little bit further up in front, and Blake McGovern on the outside line. Was he given enough space? And as you can see, just, it actually looked like Holman turned in a little bit there on McGovern. He was holding that inside line, and not much that McGovern could do in that situation. Unfortunately, Holman gets collected on the side. He doesn't end up in the wall, but he does end up slightly sideways. And now 2.4 seconds away. We have officially reached the 40-minute mark. The question is where our race leader sits out on track. Not too sure where Johnson is in terms of the track map. He is coming through one of the final couple of corners. No, actually, he's just started a new lap. Apologies. And so one more time around for the drivers that they're going to have to fight.
Well, this is not good news for Lemkool and Holman as they've got to battle one another for one more lap. As Holman is out front for the time being, he's trying to lean on Lemkool around turn number 3. Has a line. They're side by side. Oh, round 3 for the final time, and shuts the door on him. Holman does. Lemkool's going to try and catch up to Holman. Not going to happen. Castillo now has his sights set on Lemkool. These two have been neck and neck all race long. You're on board with Castillo as he tries to see if he can set up a pass into the hairpin. He's going to dive to the inside as Lemkool takes a little bit of a defensive line. That's going to have him lose just a little bit of time as now everybody's close in on that 4th place battle. Holman, Lemkool, Castillo, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Holman and Lemkool have stepped away just a little bit on one another as Castillo, he's the interested spectator, but John Song making his way around 15th and into 16 for the final time at speed. It seems like any time he gets out on track, he seems to be out near the front, down the Ullman Straight. He looks ahead of him, he looks behind him, he sees nothing but darkness as he is the class of the field once again. It's race number 5 from the young Porsche Carrera Cup driver, and he's going to make it his 5th straight win from 5 starts. Checkered flag comes out. John Song is your pro winner and the overall winner here at Sebring.
Were we expecting anything different? Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think it was pretty confirmed from the get-go that Johnson was going to take this. But Dan Clark has managed to pull the rabbit out of the hat, and he's claimed 2nd position in those final dire moments. And last to second challenge was indeed a success there for Dan Clark. Great moves up on the drivers behind him. And there he claims 2nd position, 1st over in class, but 2nd overall. Blake McGovern will hold 3rd. And Holman manages to hold 4th from Lemkool and Castillo. They were right on the backside of him, trying to pressure him out of that 4th position spot. But he thankfully manages to keep it. The birthday boy a little bit further down in 8th position, still trying to get his car around the track as they come now towards the final couple of corners, rounding off onto that back straight towards the start-finish straight now. And Jacob Harder still in a little bit of a battle himself. Obviously, this is Cameron Cool, I believe, in front of him. That's not really for position currently, so not too much stress there whatsoever. But Jacob Harder has had a great ride. And from what we saw from the previous rounds, he really did struggle a little bit, was off track a couple of times and in the walls, but completely clean and uncontested this race. He has managed to keep the Porsche neat and steady. And coming through the final corner now, and that's going to be it for his racing. I think Nathan Warder as well, a little bit further back, is still trying to round onto the back straight now. But Harder will come across in 8th, and Cameron Cool will come across in 9th.
What a race that we had. Of course, Warder going to come down the Ullman Straight for the final time and going to grease his way into the finish line. 10 cars all finished today, but Either way, we saw once again some fantastic battles. Dan Clark up 8 places to second place overall. But either way, I have this is such a great series, and if we had more cars, it'd be a fantastic race. But we don't need so many cars to have a great race because everybody finds somebody to race with.
Yeah, that is the truth about it, is that we look at it from the outside and in normal racing perspective, especially in slightly lower class. And I feel like Kellymoss really does have a bit of a standard for racing as we see our race results. Is that even with the 10-car grid like this, we've had some fantastic racing here today. Aaron Johnson takes pole yet again with Dan Clark rounding off in second position. Winner of the VIPs though, Blake McGovern second position in class, third position overall. Joseph Holman will take fourth, but first in that club members class. Carl Emkel wins the team class over there, fifth overall for himself. Anthony Castillo will sit in sixth, followed by Maxwell Fleerman in seventh. Eighth to 10th is all a part of the Kellymoss racing team. It's Jacob Harder and Cameron Cool a little bit further down in ninth, followed by Nathan Water, the final driver on today's grid, finishing off in 10th position. And like we mentioned, just 10 cars, but yet so much action was given.
Yeah, definitely. Fastest lap of the race goes to Aaron Johnson at the end of the race, 58.743. Before we get the drivers in, Tristan, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the YouTube chat, but my point has to go to Nathan Warda's mom. That's when she said, a smash burger. It's very rare that we're going to give a smack talk point to the driver that's getting smack talked, but because she's on the burger team, I think that Nathan gets the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Mia Schroeder as well. Let's go, Mr. Patty Wagon. It's a great reference to Nathan Waters' car, but I do agree, Burger Mom, with the smash burger, and it was perfectly timed as well, because I think she sent that comment in, and then we immediately just viewed Nathan Water absolutely obliterating the front side of his car against the barriers. So a well-timed joke, and coming from Burger Mom herself, I definitely agree.
So Nathan, in spite of your problems, you get the point. So that's good to see. I think what are we at? We're three drivers with an extra bonus point.
I think so, yeah. I think we
okay.
I think Cameron Cool's you're giving Cameron Cool one, correct? I think I've given Castillo one.
Yep. So yeah, we're 3 penalty points, not penalty points, sorry, 3 bonus points for 3 different drivers. Which, by the way, when I was off on my vacation, I had a chat with admin. We're concocting a pretty neat prize up for the champion of the Smack Talk, so stay tuned for that one. All right, we're starting to get drivers into the interview area. Tristan, I will let you have first crack.
All right, I'm going to bring in Mr. Blake McGovern. Blake, you're live on the commentary box by Apex Racing TV. And I mean, what a race. 10 cars on the grid, 40-minute race, but still so much action up and down. Blake, you with us?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I missed the first part of that.
No. Just generalizing the overall race. I mean, how was it for you then up in front? Obviously, you started getting caught up there by Dan Clark and a couple of the other drivers behind, but for the time being, you were holding on strong there a little bit for the first couple of laps behind Johnson.
Yeah, I was really just trying to focus on staying close enough to Aaron, knowing he would be fast. So my main goal is to try and stay within half a second so I could get that pull down the straights with him and hopefully keep me on his back end for a little longer. But lap 1 going down the back straight, I ate a little bit too much of the curb, kind of killed my momentum, and then felt like I never really saw him again after that.
And the little bit of contact you had now towards the end, I believe, with Holman. I mean, talk us through that a little bit coming into the right-hander.
Yeah, it was fun racing for the short time that we had it. Almost took us 3 wide going in there, so we were racing tight. I tried to hang around the outside, felt like I had the track space there, and then went back and watched after and think he just turned in a little bit on me. I felt like I had a right to be where I was, but fortunately, just a little knockoff track, not a big spin or anything. So he was still able to maintain first in his class, which is good. So glad there wasn't anything too consequential that came out of that.
Absolutely so. And it's a little bit of a sad one to say, but we head to our penultimate round next week at Indianapolis. How are you feeling at Indianapolis in the Porsche 992?
Good. I've actually got the chance to do some testing there in real life. So I've done quite a bit of sim work in preparation for that. So it's always nice going to a familiar track. So looking forward to that.
Incredible stuff. And lastly, is anybody you'd like to thank or mention before you head out of the box?
Yeah, thanks Kellymoss for putting this on. Thanks to you guys, Apex Racing. And I know I've got some family out there that tunes into this, so thank you to any of them that are watching. I appreciate the support, and thanks to my wife who puts up with me getting on the sim 3-4 nights a week to prepare for these races and do these races.
Incredible stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining us in the box here. Blake, we'll see you next week in Indianapolis.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, and that was Mr. Blake McGovern. Jeremy, you've got quite an array to pick from over there.
I do. And of course, Blake sounds like he's confident that he won't be 25 seconds behind this guy, maybe half that time. I figure we catch him before he decides to run away from us like he did the rest of the field. It's Aaron Jones' song, your winner tonight overall and in the pro class. Well, I missed last week because, I figured that being out in the middle of the ocean was a little bit better than talking about you winning by a big margin. But this had to be a good test session for you. You ran several laps in the 58-second mark. How many penalty points today? Got to ask that.
0 penalty points today. You won't believe it.
Even. Hey, you know what? That's how you get the 58. Yeah, we were sitting here. When you watch back, you'll sit here and celebrate when you hit your first 58-second lap, because I'm sitting there and watching your lap times fall. I'm like, he's gonna hit 58 sometime this race. I could just sense it.
Yeah, no, I saw it getting a little bit close, and I hadn't done it in practice or qualifying, but I was like halfway through the race, and I saw 0 incident points, and that wasn't a goal going into the race. But at that point, I was like, man, I'm going to try to finish the race with 0 incidents. It's the only time I'm ever going to do it. So,
yeah, no, and that's fantastic, especially because as well as I do, you've got plenty of experience, in these cars and MX5 Cup cars at Sebring, where you just get one wheel wrong and the grass is just going to pull you in.
Yeah, exactly. This place is like a second home to me now. Thankfully, I've gotten a lot of laps, here at Sebring in several different cars and on the sim. So, but it's where our first races of the season are in Carrera Cup, and lots of series. So it's good to get some practice here, and practice starts and just pacing and everything without making mistakes.
Well, of course, also I don't think you're gonna. I know you guys had the sunset race for at least one of the races, but nothing full in the dark. So let's talk about that difference for somebody who's not used to running this late in the race, because you don't get a chance to run the 12-hour yet, but it's got to be different to know where your breaking points are. And let's just talk a little bit about that.
It is different. In some parts of the track are even more dark. Like on the backside, there's absolutely no lights. Like into turn 16, like when I joined practice, I couldn't see the apex. I just kept missing the apex of 16. Thankfully, the front straight's pretty lit up. But no, it is much different. It's not like running at Daytona or something like that, where the whole track's lit up. So, and in real life, if you do it, you can't see the surface as well. So you can't see, spots that are damp or anything else or inconsistent. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Next week, we head to Indianapolis, a track you would probably do quite well at, considering that's where you got your first glory in a Porsche Carrera Cup car.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. Didn't expect that, obviously, last year. Not a place I have a lot of experience at, but people always ask me what are my favorite tracks, and usually my answer is a track I've had success at. So right now, Indy's toward the top of the list. So I'm excited to get back on and turn some laps.
Well, congratulations. We'll see you next week. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, thank Kellymoss for putting on the series again, and all the competitors for joining in. It's been, I say it every week, but it's been fun bonding with everyone. Like yesterday we did the practice race, and a lot of the drivers joined in the voice chat, and we hung out and talked together and stuff. And especially my crew members, we don't get to just hang out casually during the race weekends because we're always busy. So yeah, thank everyone involved that's participating in it.
Aaron Jones, your overall and pro winner. We'll see you next week at Indy.
Thank you. See you.
And that's, I think, the most important part right there, Tristan, is that these drivers, they don't have that opportunity to, they'll be in meeting rooms, but drivers have different responsibilities. The crew members are working on the car. So they all have that chance to bond. But either way, yeah, Aaron may be out in front, but tell you what, he's going to be one to watch this year.
Yeah, definitely. So he's going to be one that we do have to keep our eyes out on. And with only 2 rounds left of racing yet to go, it's I feel like it's kind of settled already for him. But in the Porsche Carrera Cup, we're going to have to see how that goes. I'm not too sure. Are we continuing with this, or are you wanting to close off the show? We're going to continue. Let's pull in. I'm going to pull in Holman. I want to have a bit of a chat with him with regards to that battle he had with Blake. Holman, you're live on the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship here at Apex Racing TV. I mean, talk us through that race and also that little bit of contact you had at the end there with Blake McGovern.
Yeah, gosh, the end of that race gave me a little bit of a headache. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it got pretty intense there, and just trying to chase Blake down for the second half of that race for the most part. Yeah, I think it's just a tight part of the track, and I think going back and looking at the replay, I just turned in a little too early, and his front bumper made contact with my left rear, and just it upset the car a little bit. But that was just fun racing out there.
And I mean, your experience at Sebring, especially in the Porsche 992, was this like a first round bash, or have you had a bit of experience with the car and track combo?
Well, the car I have down pretty well just from racing it in this league, but I couldn't even complete a full lap until last Monday, so it's been a steep learning curve for me. Not necessarily the case going into Indianapolis next week. I've run plenty of races on the road course there. Feeling a little bit more confident going into that one, but this one. But overall, glad to go home with the P1 in the class and almost making the podium overall.
Yeah, I was going to say that we head to the penultimate round at Indianapolis next, and obviously you're in a great standing there for the club members championship. I mean, how are you feeling coming towards the end of the season? Do you think you've got this in the bag, or do you think there's going to be a couple more challenges presenting themselves towards the end of the season?
I think the biggest challenges that are going to happen is just fighting with other drivers on track, but that's part of racing. We're going to be fighting for sometimes we're going to be fighting for position regardless of what class we're in, because it's just good fun racing out there in these cars in this league. But for the next 2 tracks, I'm feeling fairly confident. I have enough experience on both of them where I'm not necessarily too worried, and I'm pretty confident I could wrap this championship up.
It's incredible to hear. It's good to hear the confidence is there for the final 2 to wrap up the season. But I mean, before you head out, is anybody you'd like to thank or mention?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to thank a fellow competitor, Max on track. We actually work at the same place, and we're talking about this track and everything. And I was telling him, I'm not feeling too confident. He's actually shown me a trick or 2 around here to get around for the last couple of days. And as well as one of my other friends, Victor, he gave me a couple tips as well. So shout out to those 2 guys.
Incredible stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining us here in the box. We hope to see you in the box again next week after Indianapolis. But have a great day, afternoon further.
Yep. Take care, guys.
And that was Mr. Holman. And I think we got one more in the bag.
Yeah, let's bring up our hard charger. Well, I don't have an award for that. Sorry, Dan. You get to talk to me. I guess that's about the best award we can give you.
I've been waiting to talk to you.
Well, you know what? You need to let Emily. I'll tell Emily that, and she'll probably roll her eyes. Last a second. I think that's probably the best anybody can do. Congratulations. Not a bad race. Talk us through.
Yeah, the cat's back, so the mice can't play now. Aaron's here again. I wanted to start from the back. He just asked me why I started from the back. I think I just felt bad about VIR last week, almost wrecking on the start. I'm like, I don't want to end someone else's race.
Well, either way, it's a great run from the back of the pack. Next week, home cooking for you, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What are you looking forward to the most?
I have no idea, actually. I'm still recovering from this race. It was a lot of fun to catch up to Blake. Not great for him, obviously. He was sitting comfortably there, but we were on the same chat, so we were laughing. I think we had a little bit of contact, but yeah, it was. And then he was a bit too nice to me, but it's good fun.
Well, he probably figures you'd probably give him a little bit of bad advice if he wasn't so nice. But I'll chat with you later this week on how the sailing went, so we can kind of catch up after a while.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Our last to second finisher. I've got admin blowing me up here, but go ahead. Let's see. Nate's not in the chat room, but let's give you your final thoughts, Tristan.
Yeah, final thoughts on this race. Great racing yet again. I mean, it continues to prove that with a small grid, but the right races, we can really have a great race on our hands here. And obviously heading into that penultimate, second last round of the season at Indianapolis, it's now starting to get tight for the drivers. Obviously, Aaron has extended that lead quite a bit, but the battle is still on for the second positions in and out for the other divisions. So I think the next couple of weeks is gonna be the crunch time for most drivers.
So, by the way, we might as well say happy birthday to Nathan Warda. Didn't have a good race. He ate curbs. Hopefully he's going to be eating cake later with a burger-shaped cake, either way. But it's an absolutely fantastic race that we've had all day long. John's on once again, top cream of the crop, top of the field, but Dan Clark showing that he can make his way around from last to first. Next week, it's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A lot of the Kellymoss drivers have had a lot of good races here, so would not be surprised to see some of the pros come out of the woodwork for this race. For the entire crew here at Kellymoss Racing, my name is Jeremy Scott, of course, Tristan Herbst alongside, and Jim Cunningham, bring you the sights and sounds of the historic Florida racetrack. Always keep it pointed forward, keep it between the ditches, and keep it greasy side down. We'll see you next week here on the Kellymoss YouTube channel.